Hey, what's up, y'all? It's Uncle Valk here. I just came back from, like, my 4th of July party. I am not in the right mind, but Smilegate did drop a balance patch, and the real elephant in the room is, who is this patch for? Well, it's for new and returning players with older and, older heroes and artifacts of lesser rarity. Who this patch is not for is, it is not for high rank RTA players like myself, right? If you are somebody who's expecting for a big buff patch, this is not it, because Worlds is coming up. You cannot expect a game that's trying to have a serious esports scene break their own game before Worlds, right? Like, if you think about it, 3 years ago we had what? Mate, Chloe, and Carrot buffs that really destroyed the balance of the game for Worlds. 2 years ago it was Alencia that really messed up everybody who was playing the A-Ravi hand guy meta. Last year they had Lionheart Sirmia, and that really destroyed the balance, like if you were there for when Poopus got beat by Marguerite's coach. So this year, at a glance, there's nothing really crazy, which is actually really great considering Worlds is literally in 24 hours. But, leave it up to Stove to find a way to bitch about the fact that the buff isn't anything crazy. And I'm gonna just say, bro, like, it's a good thing that the devs aren't trying to destroy the game 24 hours before Worlds. So I don't know why Stove is complaining. Like, y'all's barking up the wrong tree. Anyway, enough yapping. I feel like I'm wasting your guys' time. I gotta be up in 3 hours for Anime Expo, so let's fucking get it. Right? Up first, Remnant Violet. Hell yeah, dude. So now the evasion is passive. It is baked into the boy's kit. So what does that mean? Oh yeah, also damage increase on all skills, so that's cool. What does that mean, right? It means non-contact strips like Angel of Light no longer absolutely deletes them from the game, right? Death Dealer Ray, it doesn't remove the evasion, but he still gets put to sleep. So he still has plenty of bad matchups in the meta, right? We're in, year 5 of the game now, so it's a lot of really strong units. He'll still die to hit chance up, like with Last Piece Corinne, or if your opponent's just especially skilled and know how to hit him, he's going to be better, but I would say he's reasonably not picked above pick 4 or pick 5. So when you don't pick something in 3rd pick or 2nd pick or 1st pick, you're really not impacting the meta, right? So it's not a very impactful buff, but if you like playing Remnant Violet, he gets innate evasion now. That's pretty serious. That's some good stuff, right? Up next, Sylvan Sage Vivian. So this one's actually pretty serious. S1 now stacks attack by 20% for 3 times, so same as Greenlandy. So her damage ramp will be much faster. Her damage is also now better because her damage is getting bumped up across the board. Her S1 is getting a damage up, and the S3 is dealing damage if it hits more people, which is great because in RTA, in Arena, you're always hitting 4 dudes on your first turn. She also gets max focus on her first turn, and now when she has 3 focus or higher, she is immune to debuffs. That is amazing. So what that means is that at the beginning of the fight, she will now not be able to eat a seal from Luna, in theory. Okay, I don't actually know how that works, but immune to debuff tells me that she's immune to seal. And I think that's pretty huge, right? I think she's playable again. She'll have a spot as an anti-debuff DPS, right? So if you think about the current Emperor plus slow player comp, right? The Ray composition started by KHM. It features Ray, Albedo, and a Tywin, right? Ambitious Tywin. You're going to be able to pick Sylvan Sage Vivian into that composition now, since she's going to be able to hit these guys really hard, ramp up her damage, and still not eat the debuffs from the Ray, and she'll just be fine. I still don't think you're picking her above pick 4, since you're going to be able to run into Sea Phantom Politis, Solitary of the Snow, these characters that really hold her focus, and when she doesn't have her focus, she's going to eat these debuffs anyway. But outside of these matchups, I think she's actually fairly solid. So you can't pick her above pick 4 and pick 5, but hey, at least you have a unit in that spot now to be able to pick into those Ray compositions, which I think is still great. Another danger to her, though, is like Karina style units, right? The Dragon Brysenia with 3F, very real threat. So you just have to be careful about how you play her, but she'll be very, very solid. Like solid. Right? And those, I would say, are the big impactful buffs. I actually think, you know what? I'll take that back. Next one's pretty solid too. Yuna. This is a free 5-star unit. And historically, she was not a great unit. You got to play her either as a buffer because she gives her team attack buff and speed buff, or you played her as a damage dealer because her S3 meteor cannon, when you ramp up all of her focus, does quite a bit of damage, right? But you kind of have to choose one or the other, because on her first turn, she either gets to attack or she gets to put out buffs. She doesn't get to do both. And I mean, I'm sure you guys all know, in PvP, the first turn is the most impactful turn, and it's the turn you really want to make a difference in. So, but now she gets an extra turn and 3 turns of buffs, right? The 3 turns of buff doesn't really matter for herself since the extra turn is going to eat it up anyway, and she gets an extra turn of cooldown, which gets eaten up by the extra turn. Extra turn's just broken like that. So it'll make her much more comfortable to use if you want to use her. If you're a new player, if you don't have a lot of characters on your account, she's going to be a viable character that does a lot of AoE damage, a lot of support for the team. Still going to be a danger because, you know, an AoE attack will still proc counterattack, still proc Elbereth's Ritual Sword, so there is an inherent risk there in playing her. But otherwise, she's going to be comfortable. Her EE changes too. So the S1 exclusive equipment gives her 5% additional combat readiness push, up from 4% if you're hitting 4 targets. So more combat readiness push. Combat readiness push is the best stat in the game, right? Think about the best stat you're building on your characters, right? Speed. And what do you build speed for? To generate more combat readiness. Perfect. We love that, right? The option number 2 is actually fairly interesting. It makes it so that her cooldown is unaffected by cooldown increase and decrease effects. You can't reset her, which I think, you know, in practice, right, what that means is if a knock wall hits you, right, you're going to be able to extra turn out of her debuffs. Or when you're playing against a Lua composition, she's just going to be able to put up speed buff for her team and equalize that advantage the Lua creates, which is, you know, it's not nothing crazy, but it's solid. It's solid. And solid buffs for free units that new players have access to, especially when E7WC is coming up, I think it's great. And my biggest thing is it doesn't destroy the balance of the game with E7WC incoming, right? Because if you're an enjoyer of like other esports like League of Legends or Dota, League of Legends in particular, right, is known for every time Worlds comes up, Riot will throw out a balance patch that buffs that airplane guy, and suddenly that airplane guy is ripping it up at Worlds every single year, right? For how many years now? So, and we've had that for 3 years in a row. So good to see that they haven't destroyed the balance of the buffs. But I think that's everything that really affects the gameplay. Because moving on, we'll have Free Spirit Tyia. This is going to be a PvE and a new player change. So what happened is her damage got bumped up across the board. Free damage, we love that, right? Usually when damage gets increased, they get increased by approximately 10%. So we can assume it is roughly the same for Remnant Violet buff up above, right? There is that, and also damage increase proportional to target's max health. So that buff is usually really good when a boss's health is like really high, right? It's good in PvE when the bosses have like 50,000 health, 100,000 health, 200,000 health, right? Great there. Not so good in PvP, but you know, Free Spirit Tyia is going to be a free PvE unit, and with new players coming in because they saw E7WC and they're hyped about it, great. Alright, we'll just take that. That's fine. Moving on, Mercedes. Damage bumped up across the board. Hey, I mean, once again, we take our free damage, right? A lot of her old damage kind of came from her soul burn, which now moves, so I'm assuming that damage is just included. The soul burn actually got moved to her skill 3, and it increases the attack buff by 1 turn, so she could also be a 3-turn attack buff giver, which with Yuna, with Mercedes, looks like it's the new standard. Sure, why not, right? Most attack buffs are 2 turns in the game. 3-turn attack buff is actually quite rare, so giving free units this 3-turn utility, 1, makes PvE, makes story a little bit easier for new players, and 2, depending on where the game... Oh, hey, look, I gotta wake up in 4 hours. Actually, I'm waking up earlier than that for Anime Expo, so I'm really trying to speed run this analysis. Either way, you know, welcome buff for new players, right? And it doesn't destroy the balance of the game. Cool. Camila. Attack buff from 2 turns to 3 turns. And then damage off of S3 is increased. So this does 2 things. What does this mean? 1, she is better in Ancient Inheritance, where if you are a light element user, she goes from being okay to being really damn good, right? Because one of the biggest pulls with her, one of the biggest reasons you would play her is this 3-turn attack buff for her and one of her allies, and that attack buff in turn lets her dual attack with that ally, and it's a lot of damage on the bosses. So it makes it more consistent there. But on the side of PvP, there are actually a few, less so one trick, but there are a couple of niche players that actually hit like Emperor and Legend rank playing Camila, just because her kit is really interesting and dual attack, in all honesty, kind of broken. So for those guys, now they have a 50% increase in their uptime for their attack buff. Once again, 3-turn attack buff. Like, that's kind of a new standard for PvE units and a few really niche PvP units. Right? Cool. Aether. Actually supposed to heal targets scaling to their HP now. It used to scale to his attack and a little bit of their HP, which doesn't really make sense, because why would you build attack on your healer? So now he works as he's supposed to. And what does that mean for him? Like, fucking nothing. I mean, I guess if you're really new, you're free to play, and you're really unlucky, this is a character that actually works until you pull a 4-star that can replace him. Like Angelica, Acades, Lots, right? As some examples. But overall, he's not here to do too much. But he'll work now. And then lastly, there's just a bunch of 3-star artifact buffs. And Smalgi didn't really explain them. What does that mean? Well, once again, nothing. You'll feel a little bit worse selling them when you get them from summons and wonder if you've made a mistake, but in reality, you know you didn't. But still, it's going to gnaw at you at the back of your mind because the hoarder monkey in your brain won't let it go, and somehow then you realize it's 4 a.m., you gotta be up in 3 hours, and seriously, what the hell are you doing with your life? What the fuck are you doing making this video that, you know, kind of goes over essentially not a nothing burger per se of a patch, but like, seriously, why are we out here playing this game? Like, what are we really doing with our lives? Just go outside. Anyway, I'm gonna stop letting my intrusive thoughts take over, guys. That is the video, that is a patch, that is my analysis. Let me know what you guys think. Did I miss anything? Is there something you guys see differently than I do? I mean, I think it's a solid patch, right? Especially before Worlds, we didn't destroy the balance of the game for once, yay. Cool. So yeah, that's everything I got. If you want to see any of the stats that I plan on playing these characters, head down to the description of the video, and yeah, join the Discord, join some of the discussions we've been having. We've been having a lot of new members, and people have been showing some really interesting builds and asking really interesting questions. That being said, that's it from the video for me for today. Thank you guys. I will be seeing you guys during E7WC if you're interested in seeing what Worlds is like for an RTA gameplay mode, because let's be honest, right? We've seen a lot of controversies recently, and it would be good to finally dial it in and watch some good old RTA. Yeah, let's go Poopist. Like the video, subscribe. That's all I got for you guys. See ya.